Why everything feels more threatening after you stay up too late. Welcome back. This is Dr. Scott Sherr. If you like these videos, don't forget to like and subscribe below, share with your friends and family. I'm excited for this one because it's such an important one, which is sleep procrastination, sleep revenge, some really interesting terms that are flying around right there. This is the thing, right? You stay up scrolling or stay up late watching TV or something because it's the only quiet time you actually get. Maybe the kids are asleep. Maybe your spouse is finally asleep, if that's the case. Maybe you've been working all day and you just haven't had a moment to yourself. And so you finally go to bed. It's like midnight, then it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. You finally go to bed, and then the next morning, what do you feel like? Well, emails just feel heavier. Your kids feel louder. That one comment just hits harder. Small decisions feel disproportionately stressful. And you think to yourself, on some level, like, why is everything so terrible today or so threatening today? This is all about nervous system regulation. We're going to talk all about that today. The unspoken drivers here really is that it's not weakness, okay? It's not poor discipline per se. It's something much, much, much simpler. When you delay sleep to reclaim control, so this is like a control thing, okay? And I totally get it. You're often responding to a subtle undercurrent of fear. What is that fear? Fear of losing your autonomy, fear of the next day's demands, fear of not having space for yourself. Staying up feels like power, but physiologically it comes at a huge cost. And I can completely resonate with this. As a father of 4 children, multiple different ways that I practice, both in clinic, telemedicine clinic where I live outside of Boulder, Colorado, or with the multiple companies that I help run, it can be very difficult to have those couple moments every single day. But I definitely acknowledge that there are ways to do this. And I've found various ways along the way. And I'm going to tell you about them, some easy ones, some more difficult ones. And I like to call it, you're going to become Pavlovian. You're going to have a salivation for your sleep when you're done after listening to this. So let's keep going here. So the night really does feel like relief, doesn't it? Where everything is just kind of calmed down. Everybody's asleep, hopefully, or at least quiet down. But the next day, after staying up too late and controlling your time by taking it back, even though it's eating up into your sleep, the next day will feel like a threat. You're going to be more fearful. You're going to be more reactive. Your immune system is going to get all over the place. You're going to have a higher risk of being sick more often. Again, this is not a personality flaw. This is a nervous system sequence problem. Okay, you're borrowing safety from tomorrow, and then you just continue to increase your debt because you're never getting to really replace that debt. We talk about sleep debt all the time. You really can't replace a sleep debt. If you get a poor night's of sleep, you do rebound a little bit, but you never fully make up for that night of poor sleep. And interestingly enough, we're the only animals on this planet that we're aware of that purposely deprive ourselves of sleep. No other animals do this unless they're under threat. For us, we do this on a regular basis just to reclaim our own time and our power in some cases. And that's not necessarily wrong. It's just having to reframe that and understanding. So what most people do is when they approach sleep, they think, how can I fall asleep faster? This is called sleep onset. There's a sleep latency, which means that there's supposed to be a certain amount of time that it takes you to fall asleep. If you wear a ring that tracks your sleep, if you actually fall asleep too quickly, they ding you for that. If it takes more than about 20 minutes, then they ding you for that too. But for about 6 minutes to about 15 minutes is a normal time for you to be able to fall asleep. Now, most of us, though, just want to hit the bed, hit the pillow, and fall asleep. But that's oftentimes a sign of being overtired rather than actually something that could be good for you. I find this a lot in patients with sleep apnea, for example. If you're somebody that snores at night and can fall asleep on a dime anytime you fall asleep or close your eyes, that's oftentimes a very good sign that you have sleep apnea. But remember, sleep isn't an event per se. It's a landing. And here's a deeper reframe that we've used that Dr. Ted Achacosa, one of my mentors and the founder of Transcriptions and Home Hope, our for-profit and nonprofit entities, likes to tell me and like to tell everybody really, is that your day doesn't start when you wake up. Your day starts when you go to bed. If you prioritize sleep this way, you are going to have a much better appreciation for it. If you're a checklist person, you write everything down on the checklist you're going to do that day. If sleep is last, well, then, that's how you prioritize it, right? But if sleep is the first thing you do every day, and I would actually venture to say at least 30 minutes before sleep, having a checklist, which is going to be your sleep routine, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So you're 30 minutes before bed, then your sleep, and then your day. We've always heard on the news and like influencers prioritize their morning routine. And I think a morning routine is important, but I'm going to be a little bit controversial and say that your evening routine is even more important if it's optimizing your sleep. Okay. Bedtime sets tomorrow's threat threshold, meaning that if you get optimized sleep, your capacity to deal with threat, to deal with fear, anxiety, trials and tribulations is going to be so much higher, right? If you go to bed dysregulated, unpredictable, and stimulated, you wake up with a lower tolerance for the uncertainty. So let's think in maps, not in just biohacking, right? Because biohacking can be great. You can look at all these various things, but it's so important to zoom out here. So the first principle I want to talk about is energy before regulation, right? So remember, sleep restores metabolic resilience. And if one of my patients has a sleep issue and they have anxiety, they have depression, they have whatever, the first thing that I'm likely doing for them if they have poor sleep is to optimize their sleep. Okay. So without poor sleep, your amygdala, your fear center, becomes more reactive. Your prefrontal cortex modulation drops. Your ability to keep things in your mind and understand what's happening from like just an entirely, big picture perspective. Your threat scanning increases. Your emotional neutrality actually shrinks. So you're going to be up and down throughout the day. You're not going to have equanimity. You're not going to have the capacity to maintain a stable baseline. One short night doesn't just make you tired. It makes you interpret neutral stimuli as more negative, right? That's not psychology. This is actually neurobiology. This is very well established in literature. Okay, the second principle is safety before optimization. When you stay up late scrolling, you are often in mild sympathetic activation. This is your fight or flight nervous system that's online way, way later than it should be. We should be in our parasympathetic state. This is when we rest, digest, detoxify, and recover. That's what sleep's all about. But if you're in this sort of late night scrolling with light exposure, novelty stimulation, cognitive engagement, autonomy seeking behavior, so you're really just trying to feel like you have control of something, the system will learn that bedtime equals stimulation and unpredictability. That's not what you want. If you layer this in with variability, so different bedtimes each night, different wind down routines, different emotional stress, the brain is a very difficult time predicting that it's time for you to go to bed. And what the brain cannot predict, it cannot relax into. And that is what's so important here. So this is where what I call the sympathetic spiral of doom can certainly ramp up dramatically. This is what I mean by it. I mean that you have this chronic sympathetic activation, you get mitochondrial stress, you get poor energy reserves, you lose the capacity to make enough energy. The system has to create more sympathetic activation to try to create more energy. And sleep is a big part of this. And sleep is often very much dysregulated as a result of the sympathetic spiral, or it could be started because of this sleep dysregulation. So you stay up for control, you sleep less, threat perception rises, the day feels harder. You feel you need more autonomy at night, and you stay up again. And this is not insomnia, ladies and gentlemen. This is just conditioning, and we can retrain this. So, as I mentioned, most people try sort of biohacking, right? Magnesium, mouth taping, blue light blockers, sleep trackers, meditation apps. Like none of these are wrong, but they miss the sequence of what's really important here. You cannot optimize sleep if bedtime does not feel safe and predictable. The nervous system salivates for what it can anticipate. Now, if you can make that salivation happen, and we'll talk about this in a minute, you're going to sleep so much better. Instead of salivating for stimulation, we're going to salivate for sleep. And here's the shift. Okay, so we don't force sleep, we condition it. Think Pavlov, right? Everybody remember Pavlov's dog? Ring a bell and I'll salivate. If anybody likes the Bare Naked Ladies, that's a song from my childhood or my early adulthood or teenage time, I guess. The dog didn't salivate because he tried harder. He salivated because the cue was consistent. So every time the dog got a bowl of food, he also got a ringing of the bell, right? And eventually, even the ringing of the bell caused the salivation. So what I want you to do is to salivate for sleep. not metaphorically, okay, neurologically. This means the same order of events before bed, the same timing window, the same sensory sequence as much as possible, lighting patterns, pre-bed cues, night after night after night. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could have different size sleep routines depending on where you are and what you're doing, but it needs to be predictable. This is what I call the parasympathetic edge, because if you can do this every single night or as many nights as possible, your brain and your body will go into shutdown parasympathetic mode very, very much, because our brains and our bodies love routine. It's earned through repetition. When the brain recognizes a sequence as safe and consistent, it begins to downshift before you even lie down. That's when bedtime becomes the start of tomorrow's resilience, the start of tomorrow's capacity, the reserve that you have, the mood stability that you have, and also over the long-term cardiovascular benefits, neurologic benefits, and more, even decreasing your rate or risk of death. I mean, it's a big deal here. So there's lots of different ways to do this. I have my own routines that I use that are very, very simple. Some stretching routines, a hot shower. If I have more time, I'll get into my sauna, which I love. My infrared, not high heat. That's typically too stressful for most people. So there's this whole concept of dark showering that's gotten very popular lately. And I think this is super interesting. And it's not out of the question, right? Because dark shower, so low lighting. And you also have the hot water, which hot water before bed actually increases, obviously the temperature that's hitting your skin, but actually decreases your body temperature, which helps you actually fall asleep easier. Okay. And so a specific lamp that you turn on, a shower, a short-written brain dump, one piece of music you listen to, breath work that always happens, even certain supplements, stretching routines. It doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be a couple things within about 15 minutes of going to bed. It can be longer. For sure. Dark showering, I think, is a fantastic trend. I love it. If you have some candlelight there, some like incandescent bulbs, that's awesome as well. But the tool is not the point. It's the sequence, right? So if the system is exhausted but safe, the sleep is going to come, all right? The system is stimulated, but doing the right hacks only, it's not going to happen. So let's return to this midnight doom scrolling, this vengeful sleep thing that I keep hearing about. You weren't lazy, you were seeking regulation, right? You're doing this midnight scrolling because you're looking for power. But the method amplified NextJ's perception. Now, instead of stealing time at night, you build a repeatable landing sequence. Imagine this, right? Your brain begins to associate dim light, smell, music, order of actions with safety. Over weeks, not days, you begin to feel sleepy before you even try. Now your day begins at 9:45 p.m., 15 minutes before your 10 p.m. bedtime. And tomorrow is going to feel less threatening even before it starts. So remember, if everything feels heavier after a short night, that's not weakness. That's biology protecting you. The solution isn't more discipline per se. It's a better mapping, because when the night becomes more predictable, the nervous system softens and relaxes. And when it softens, the world looks less dangerous. Start with tonight, okay? It's very, very simple. It doesn't have to be something crazy. It could be just a couple different stretches. It can be a little bit of breath work, as mentioned. Same cues, same sequence. Let your system learn to salivate to sleep. And you won't feel like you're giving something up if you're doing something every night that's keeping you healthy and optimized. Start your day with sleep. Don't end it. First thing on your checklist. And if you're really brave, take 15 minutes before you hit the bed, hit your pillow, and do a sleep routine. For me, when I get into bed with my face mask, with my sound machine, in a cool room most of the time, I also remember to be grateful for the day and to hope for the following day as well, to wake up. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And your comments, I read them all and I try to reply as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.